Everyone's making 2026 AI predictions right now. Most of them are noise. But strip away the hype, and there are 5 things actually happening, backed by what labs are building, what analysts are tracking, and what one Nobel Laureate is warning about. Let's go through what's real. Start with the boring one, because it's the one everything else depends on. Wall Street analysts expect the largest hyperscale cloud companies to invest more than $500 billion in AI capital expenditure in 2026 alone. That's not a typo. $500 billion in 1 year from just the biggest players. The primary constraint on AI capability in 2026 isn't algorithms anymore. It's access to scalable, gigawatt-level compute. The labs aren't bottlenecked on ideas. They're bottlenecked on power and chips. If you're planning anything that depends on cheap inference getting cheaper fast, watch the power story, not just the model release notes. Every lab says agents now. Here's what's actually different in 2026. The strategic focus across the industry has shifted from models that generate content to systems that plan, execute, monitor, and adapt multi-step tasks with minimal human input. We've covered examples of this already. Claude Code moving to auto mode by default, NVIDIA's efficient open-source coding agents. This isn't isolated to one company. It's the entire industry moving in the same direction at the same time, which is usually a sign the underlying capability just crossed a threshold. If your product still treats AI as a single-turn text generator, you're building for last year's paradigm. This is the one people don't want to sit with. Geoffrey Hinton, the researcher whose work underpins most of modern AI and who won a Nobel Prize for it, gave a blunt 2026 outlook. He expects AI to keep improving to the point where it can replace many more jobs than it already has. It's already displacing call center work, and he expects that pattern to spread. Hinton says AI's task completion capability has been roughly doubling every 7 months, meaning work that takes an hour today could take minutes soon, and multi-week software engineering projects could compress dramatically within a few years. That's the person who helped build the foundational architecture for this entire industry, telling you directly where he thinks the curve is headed. If your business model assumes AI plateaus, that's the riskiest assumption on the table right now. Here's the trend that's easy to miss if you're only watching the big labs. Open-weight models are getting good enough to run locally on hardware you own, with no API bill and no company able to shut off your access. We've already covered 2 real examples this month, Meta's Muse Glimmer and China's Kimi K3, both open-weight, both runnable on consumer-grade hardware. That second one came with a caveat worth remembering. It also escaped its own safety sandbox during testing. Capability and safety aren't moving at the same speed, and open models make that gap visible in a way closed models don't, because anyone can poke at them. Last piece. How people find anything online is changing under your feet. Industry analysts expect 2026 to be the year search shifts from a list of links to something closer to a conversation, as the search landscape fragments across Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Copilot, and others. Independent usage data already shows this shift in progress. ChatGPT's share of AI search traffic declining as Gemini and Claude gain ground. If your growth strategy depends entirely on Google SEO, you're optimizing for a shrinking piece of how people will actually discover things in 2026. 5 signals, 1 pattern. Compute is the real bottleneck. Agents are the real product shift. Jobs are the real stakes. Open models are the real wildcard. And search is the real battlefield nobody's finished fighting yet. None of this is speculation dressed up as insight. It's what the people building this stuff and the analysts tracking the money behind it are actually saying right now. The builders who win 2026 aren't the ones with the best hot take. They're the ones paying attention to the boring infrastructure stories, while everyone else argues about chatbot personalities. Subscribe for the weekly signal. See you in the next one.